What is going on, scholars? Welcome back. Today, we are going to be going over the history of Tulsa's Black Wall Street. We are going to learn some important figures, financial lessons we can take from the history, and if you stay all the way to the bonus, oh no, all the way to the end. That's what the word is. If you stay all the way to the end, we will give you a bonus, and you're definitely going to want to stay if you are interested in entrepreneurship. My name is Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and let's get into today's lesson. Okay, so I usually like to start off with asking, what do you know about Tulsa Black Wall Street? Feel free to put a comment inside of the YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. If you are enrolled in our course, definitely make sure you put a comment inside the discussion. But what is it that you already know? Put that in there. That way we can learn from you and you can also teach some of your peers. But getting into it, all right, we have this timeline and the history, the road to Tulsa Black Wall Street kind of starts in 1838 with the Trail of Tears. A lot of people don't know, but there is a strong population of both enslaved and freed African Americans that traveled with the Native Americans or the indigenous from the east coast of United States, right? The original 13 colonies. They were forced to leave the east coast and they landed in Oklahoma, which became Indian territory. Okay. Now, there's a treaty in 1866. What First off, do you remember what happened in 1864? Think about it. Think about it. The Emancipation Proclamation, right? That was signed in 1864 by President Abraham Lincoln. What this did was it freed all of the slaves in the United States territories, but it did not free the slaves in the Indian territory, which Oklahoma was a part of, right? So between 1864 and 1866, it was still legal to have slaves within Indian territories. But when this treaty happened, now all the slaves that were in Oklahoma were freed. So there was just a huge spike in the amount of freed African Americans that were in Oklahoma ready to live the American dream. And then in 1898, we have Edwin McCabe who hits the scene and he really shakes things up, right? So if you take a look, Edwin McCabe was a politician. He was one of the first black politicians in the West, and he was also a booster. Right? A booster means that he was kind of like a social media influencer without the Instagram, without the Twitter, without the TikTok, right? If you just using the tools that he had during the day, newspapers, articles, people, he was able to spread the idea of Oklahoma. He was able to spread the black American dream of Oklahoma and say that, hey, if you're free, if you're looking to grow your family, grow your business, Oklahoma is the place to be. And he had a vision. It was a big vision. It was a grand vision. And his vision was he wanted Oklahoma to become the first all black state in the United States of America. Now, although he wasn't 100%, successful in creating that vision, Oklahoma did end up being the state with the most all black townships. We had Perry, we had Bowley, and of course, we had Tulsa and many, many more. So, his vision wasn't quite there, but all the success and all of the black towns and the financial just freedom that was able to be built from Oklahoma can be pointed to and influenced for sure by Edwin McCabe. Okay. Now let's get back to the timeline. So back to the timeline. O.W. Gurley, which is another prominent figure we're going to talk about very, very soon, hits the scene in 1905 and he buys 40 acres. Hold on to that, okay? Buys 40 acres. We're going to talk about that in a second. Later on, 1907, Oklahoma becomes a official state, a part of the United States. Prior to 1907, Oklahoma was Indian territory, which means the laws, the policies that were in America, right, quote unquote America, didn't apply in the Indian territories, including the laws of discrimination, taxation, and all of those other things that were being done in different states and the 13 original colonies. In 1907, what do you think the first law was that they passed? Right? What was the first legislation that they did? Think about it. Right? Taxes. Yep, that was high up there for sure. Discrimination. Yes. So the first law, the first piece of legislation that they did in Oklahoma was legalizing segregation, saying that there can be, all white high schools, there can be white only restaurants, white only neighborhoods. They legalized segregation because prior to that, with the indigenous population, the African American population, and some white Tulsans, white Oklahomans, it was kind of intermingled, right? There was no segregation just because of how the Indian territory was set up. But it becomes an official state now, just like most of the other American states at that time, they went ahead and did official segregation. Now, something positive that did happen, right, is the opening of the oil fields. More oil fields between 1912 and 1913 started springing up in Tulsa specifically, but also all throughout Oklahoma. With the oil fields, we're now able to have a stable working and middle class in Tulsa. If there's a stable working and middle class in Tulsa, they now have more money, right? More economic power to spend on leisure activities, right? So you got some more money, you want to have fun, right? So you go out, you go to the movies. So now there's people who need to work that movie theater. There's people that need to give you your popcorn. There's people that need to give you your soda. So now they have a job as well. You feeling yourself, you feeling good. You want to get a new car, right? You want to get a new ride. And at this time, the Model Ts had just came out. People are getting their cars for the first time. So there's people that need to make those cars. There's people that need to sell those cars, right? You feeling good, you want to maybe have a date night with your queen, you want to have a date night with your partner, right? So you have babysitters or people who are homebodies, and they're able to clean your house and watch your kids while you and your partner go out and have fun, right? So all of these kind of leisure activities help to build the economy, and specifically it helped entrepreneurs and small businesses, even black businesses, right? So we have William Dreamland Theater, which opened in 1913, 1914, right? We have Booker T. Washington High School, which opened during that same time. We had the Williams Confectionery. We had Uncle Steve's Barbecue. We had all these businesses that were able to start up because there was a stable economy, right? Or a strong working class with the oil fields. Right? Now, it wasn't all good, and I think if you know a little bit about the history of Tulsa's Black Wall Street, you know there's some negative energy as well, right? So first off, World War I ends in 1918, and with that, a lot of black veterans returned to Tulsa. And during this time, the only black Americans that were legally allowed to have guns were black veterans. So for the first time, we see a lot of black veterans coming back home with their discharge weapon, right? Now in 1919, we see a huge spike in the number of just violent attacks and lynchings of black Americans all throughout the nation, but specifically in the North, specifically in the Midwest as well. So there was a lot of racial tension in 1919, 1920, leading into the Tulsa Black Wall Street Massacre of 1921. Okay. If you don't know, this is when the businesses, the homes were burnt down, looted, bombs were dropped on the black Tulsans, all because there was a misunderstanding of a young black man who was accused of attacking a young white woman. Come to find out, when we took our trip to Greenwood, when we took our trip to Tulsa and we learned the real history, Dick Rowland, the young black man, Sarah Page, the young white woman, were actually dating and they were about to have a child together. But during this time, as you can imagine, interracial dating was not accepted. So this is kind of the aftermath, right? The backlash from seeing the wealth being created within Greenwood, seeing the businesses being created in Greenwood, seeing the interracial relationship between Dick Rowland and Sarah Page, seeing the black men, right, come to the jail to protect Dick Rowland with their guns, protecting their own. We have the backlash of the Tulsa Black Wall Street massacre. Okay, I know that's a lot to take in right now. Okay, but that is the history. What we try to do is we try to share this history as much as possible, but also teach you how it was built, teach you the people behind who built Black Wall Street, teach you the lessons, right? Wisdom behind Tulsa's Black Wall Street so that we can have some type of Black Wall Street today, right? Whether it's a virtual one, whether it's a physical one, how can we take their values and use them in today's society? Okay. So that brings me to the visionary, right? One of the founders of Tulsa Black Wall Street, OW or Ottawa Gurley, who worked as an educator. He worked in the United States Post Office. He was an entrepreneur when him and his lovely wife and kids lived in Perry, Oklahoma. They owned a general store and he was a principal of the local school. But he heard some whispers. He heard people saying that money was able to be made in Tulsa, that millionaires were being made in Tulsa from the oil industry. And as a visionary, as an entrepreneur, he was like, okay, if oil fields are popping up, if all these people are making a lot of money, people are going to be coming through Tulsa. There's going to be traffic, there's going to be attention. So if I set up a business there, I'll be able to make more money. And you can apply that lesson to today as well, right? Where are people going through for traffic, right? Whether it's physical traffic and they're driving, so you see all the billboards, or it's virtual traffic through TikToks, through Instagram, through YouTube, right? It's all the same mentality. How can you get people's attention? How can you anticipate where they're going to be? And how can you make sure you have what they need when they need it? That was how O.W. Gurley thought. So him and his family, they left Perry, Oklahoma, and went down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and set up shop. And what he did was he saw 40 acres of barren land, 40 acres in North Tulsa that nobody was really, really thinking about, nobody wanted. But he had the vision not only to buy that 40 acres, but to say, I'm going to only sell acreage to Black families and Black businesses. He set up the land, subdivided it. He said businesses are going to go here, residential streets are going to go here, residential communities are going to go here, Greenwood Avenue is going to go here. This is going to be, he just set up the whole entire vision. And it's amazing how 100 years later, we're still talking about the vision that he had, JB Stratford had, and some other entrepreneurs 100 years ago. We are still talking about the excellence that they represented. It's dope. And he did this in his 20s, right? Oh, late 20s, early 30s is what he was doing this. So it's really amazing. Okay. So how y'all feeling so far? You feeling okay? Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscription, a subscription. You know the word. We appreciate you. Go ahead and support the channel. If you are in the course right now, I want you to put in the discussion, what do you think made Tulsa's Black Wall Street successful? Right, knowing what you just learned about the story, about the history, the people, what do you think made Tulsa's Black Wall Street successful? Now, we're gonna go through what we think. Number one, the oil boom, right? Having that strong foundation economy, having that strong working class, middle class who had extra money for leisure. That is what allowed entrepreneurs to say, hey, I'm going to start a theater. You have extra money. You want to be entertained? Come to my movie theater. That allowed shoe shiners to be like, hey, You want to look fancy? You want to wear some nice shoes, going on a date? Cool. Come by my shoe shining joint, which Dick Rowland was a shoe shiner. I'll sign your shoes. Now I can make some money, right? So having that strong middle working class that's able and willing to spend money on leisure activities is for sure one of the factors that helped make Tulsa's Black Wall Street successful. Okay. Now, another one that we think about this today, the black dollar circulates within the community for less than 24 hours. All right. You get paid on the first, right? At 12 a.m., boom, you got paid. You sleep. By the time you wake up at 8 a.m., that money's already spent and it's left the black community. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? During this time, Tulsa Black Wall Street, 1920. No internet, no TikTok, no apps, no Google. The money circulated within the black dollar for 300 days. Think about that. Think about the spending power that we have, right? What is it? $1.7 trillion spending power that we have. If that spending power was able to go within the black community for 300 days, can you imagine how many millionaires we would be able to make each year? Think about that, really. So next time or sometime this week, I want you to support one black business. Sometime this week, I challenge you to support one black business. Feel free to tag us on Instagram at Play Black Wall Street. Let us know who you supported. But go ahead, get yourself some shoes, get yourself some glasses, get you a board game, get you a card game, get you a t-shirt. Go ahead and support a black business today. Okay. So something else that happened that helped Tulsa Black Wall Street really become what it was support. One of the first businesses that JB Stratford had and that W. Gurley had were real estate focused. They were boarding homes, right? So if you were leaving Mississippi, if you were leaving the Carolinas, leaving Texas, and you needed a place to stay, there were boarding homes for you to be able to kind of stay, work your debt, kind of get onto your feet. There were also a group of black entrepreneurs and investors that would loan businesses money so that they can start their business. Right? You come from, again, Mississippi, some of the Carolinas, Arkansas. You have no money, but you have an idea, you have a skill, you're really good with your hands, you can work with cars, whatever it is. Boom, here's $100 to go ahead and start your business. Right? That support for the community was really, really strong. So how can we support each other today? Right? How can I give you information on how to start a business? How can you help by giving a like, a subscribe, to a black owned business so that they can get more visibility on the internet? Right? What's one thing that you can do to help somebody out that really worked out? Now, of course, we want to highlight the board game, right? Because Black Wall Street, the board game, what we do is we put the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street into a fun game for you to learn and for you to play. Around the board, you are able to kind of get exposed to real businesses that were thriving during 1897. So you're able to really experience the history, right? Live that history and get inspired to be an entrepreneur, to get inspired to be a millionaire, get inspired to be a billionaire within your generation and create that generational wealth. So we created the game in 2017. We're now in our second edition. We've made our masterpiece edition. We have our Play Black Wall Street Academy, which I know y'all are enrolled in. We appreciate you. And yeah, it's just been a huge honor to be able to teach history of Tulsa Black Wall Street in a fun way. All right. So thanks for rocking with us. Thanks for your support. We appreciate you. Now, of course, stay connected. We're about to get into the bonus. If you're not already, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube, Play Black Wall Street. Amazing content on here celebrating Black excellence, Black history, and financial literacy. Follow us on Instagram, Play Black Wall Street on Instagram. Now, let's get into the bonus, right? So, what's your business idea? I know you got one. I know you got at least one business idea because you are brilliant, you amazing, you are a genius. I know you come up with at least one idea. You don't have to share it if you don't want to, but write it down right now. We are going to go through the 7 steps to launch your business. Right? If you have an idea, we're going to go through the 7 steps. And if you want more of this, feel free to sign up for Play Black Wall Street Academy. There's tons of more content we have on building your business and building your brand. This is just going to be a nice sneak peek into that. Okay. Number one, I need you to define the problem. Entrepreneurship is all about solving a problem, solving a need, giving either some stress or providing some pleasure, providing some joy. All right. So, number one, I need you to define what problem you are solving. For us, the problem was students didn't know about Tulsa Black Wall Street and they didn't really know too much about entrepreneurship or how to start a business. So, we created Black Wall Street, the board game. The problem can be big, it can be small, it can be a social problem, an entertainment problem, literally anything. But you need to be specific and figure out what problem are you solving. Number two, what is your uniqueness? What is your gift? All right, think about that. What's your unique perspective? For me, growing up, I always loved playing games, right? Whether it was Monopoly, Dominoes, Pokemon, Digimon, Beyblades. I was a gamer, right? I'm a gamer. That's what I like to do. I also didn't like to read growing up. I was that kid in class where I would count out how many people were before me, and then I would see which paragraph I would read if it comes to me, and I would read that paragraph ahead of time just to make sure there was no kind of big words I wasn't able to rock with, right? Wasn't a big reader. So knowing that, I was like, okay, games is my uniqueness, but also wanting the information, wanting to learn, but not wanting to read was also a unique perspective. So think about, what is it for you? Number three, I need you to discover your audience. Who has the problem that you want to solve? Who is going to be your potential customer? Who is your ideal customer? For us, we started off thinking that, all black families, right? All black people would love Black Wall Street board game, which would be beautiful, but who our real target audience is, right? The people who really rock with us, the people who love the board game, are black families with kids 8 and up. And even more specifically, it's black families that are homeschooling their kids. They love the game. So for you, who is your audience and what do they need? What's their problem that they next? Fun part. I need you to define the product or service. What specifically is going to be the thing, the material, the service, the product that's the problem? Okay. So for us, again, the problem, people don't know about Tulsa Black Wall Street. My uniqueness, I love games. I don't like reading, right? So for me, it was boom. I'm going to create a board game where people can learn the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street without having to read a book. You can play a game and you will learn history. That was my perspective. That was my product that would solve the problem. Okay, so think about, what is your specific product or service that will solve the problem you talked about before. All right, you still with me? You doing okay? Okay, let's go to number five. Number five, I need you to create your MVP. What does that stand for? Most valuable player, or is it minimum viable product? Which one do you think it is? If you chose minimum viable product, you're right. 5 points for Gryffindor. Right? Good job. So minimum viable product. This is the first version of your app, your product, your service. It is like the step before a prototype. What you want to think of is, how can I make my product as fast as possible for as little money as with what I have right now. Okay. Your MVP should take you maybe a week to create. Our MVP was on a cardboard box, right? It was cardboard box, marker, PowerPoint presentation, thumbtacks, dice from another game. Boom, we got ourselves the first ever MVP Black Wall Street the board game. What you want to do with this is to show that what you have in your head can the vision, the idea that you have can be real. That's all you're doing with the MVP. You can show it to one person, people see that what you have in your head can be real. And now this is the foundation. This is the starting point. And your job is to just build on that foundation, right? Slow and steady, build on that foundation. Okay. So, number 5, MVP, minimum viable product. How can you make your idea as real as possible, as quick as possible, for as little money as possible? Okay. Number 6 is pick a business model, right? These are some examples of business models that are created, and typically the most successful, right? They have the best track record. There's business to customer, which means you sell your product or your service to a customer. Think McDonald's, think Black Wall Street, the board game, think Nike, any store you go into and you purchase something directly from that store, business to customer. Business to business, that's when a business sells their product or service to other businesses. Think Dell with a whole bunch of computers. Think textbooks that sell their textbooks to schools, stuff like that, right? You're buying in bulk and you're selling it to a business who's buying in bulk. Subscription, this means you're paying on a monthly, on a yearly basis for services, right? So this can be Netflix, Hulu. This can be school, right? You're paying every quarter, every year for access. This can be YouTube Red. Actually, we'll get to that in a second. But Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, all that stuff would be under subscription for sure. Now, freemium. This is the fun one that we see that's pretty popular now. This is you get free access to limited features. And if you want an upgrade, right, or if you want to not see ads, you pay the premium access. And now you get more features, right? So, YouTube, you can go on YouTube for free. Do your thing. Watch this video, watch other things, but there's going to be ads, right? If you want to avoid the ads, you pay extra, get YouTube Red, YouTube TV, and now you don't pay ads. You can download videos, you can do all types of other cool and fun stuff because you paid the extra price, right? So this is a good business model to start in, right? How can you give your product, give your service, give your information away for free? And then when people want even more info, they pay you a little something, something, and then they get the premium information or the premium level service. All right. And the last one is user generated content, right? Or business model. So really almost all social media companies user generated, right? If Instagram you only saw the pictures from the founder of Instagram, would you still use it? If you couldn't post anything on Instagram, you only saw the post from the founder. You only saw the reels from the founder. Would you still use Instagram? No, right? The value comes from the users generating the content, generating the value. So, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all those are user generated business models. So, if you're really good at creating apps, so you're really good at creating platforms for other people to then share their gift, share their voice, user generated might be your business model. Now, although you see 5 on here, please do not try to do all 5 business models, right? Stick to maybe one, tops 2 business models to start. Pick your 2, right? The one that we started with was a freemium model and a business to customer model. Right? We were giving out YouTube videos and information for free, still continue to do that, but we were also selling the game individually. to families, right? So start off with two tops or one to get you started. And last but not least, the last thing that we think you should do is name your business, your product, your brand. The reason why you want to name it last is because you have a lot of different things that are going to influence the name, right? What the problem is, who your customer is, what the product ends up being, who's the audience, what the business model is, all those small pieces should influence you're going to name the company or name the product, because you want to make sure that the product is something appropriate matches the audience, right? And it's something that makes sense for the problem that it's solving. So we highly recommend that after you do all those things, you then create your brand and create your company. Okay. So those are the 7 steps to launch your business. That was a powerful little bonus we gave you. That was almost as long as the regular video. If you have more questions, comments, feel free to put it inside of the comment section. If you're watching on YouTube, again, definitely like and subscribe. We appreciate you watching all the way to the end. If you are enrolled in the course, you know we got mad love for you. Go ahead and put your business idea inside of the discussion, or put one thing that you learn about the business launching process. Put that inside the discussion. All right. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you keep on being a scholar out there. Keep learning, keep building, keep being yourself. Keep on snacking.